At some point, every man finds himself asking a quiet question. Not out loud, but deep within. Does she even think about me anymore? You're not fighting, you're not falling apart. But something feels stuck, like you've hit a wall in the connection. She's distant, unclear. You're not together, but you're not really apart either. And you wonder, am I still important to her, or just a placeholder until someone else shows up? If that question lives in you right now, you're exactly where you need to be. Because this isn't just about getting her attention, it's about reclaiming yours. In this video, I'll share 4 grounded tips to make her miss you, not through noise or pressure, but through presence, purpose, and quiet evolution. Because the truth is, when you stop orbiting around her, when your life becomes something greater than waiting, that's when everything begins to shift. Not for her, but for you. Like this video, subscribe to Stoic Station, and let's begin. Tip number 1. Follow your passion and live fully again. There comes a point in every man's life where he realizes waiting around for her to come back is not living, it's limbo. And the longer you stay there, the more you lose pieces of who you were before you met her. So you have to reclaim that. Not for her, not to make her jealous, but because the man you're becoming deserves a life that's bigger than regret. Start with something simple, but real. Reconnect with what used to light you up. Dust off the camera you haven't touched in months. Sign up for that jiu-jitsu class you've been putting off. Take the road trip you always talked about but never booked. The point isn't to distract yourself. The point is to reignite yourself. When you dive headfirst into something that has nothing to do with her, you change the entire dynamic. You stop orbiting around her emotional gravity and instead create your own. And that's when something powerful happens. She starts to wonder. Not because you sent a cryptic text, not because you blocked her and unblocked her, but because for the first time, your energy is no longer available on demand. This is the shift that makes her start to feel something again. Not pity, not guilt, but curiosity, real curiosity. Because women don't miss the man who lingers. They miss the man who evolves beyond the version she thought she knew. Let's say it again. Missing enhances mystery. If she can predict your next move, your next thought, your next feeling, there's no space for her imagination, and without imagination, there's no longing. But when you become less emotionally predictable, not by playing games but by genuinely growing, you stop being background noise and become a question mark. And that's where everything begins to shift. She doesn't miss you because you vanished. She misses you because in your absence, you became unreachable in a way she didn't expect. So go all in on your craft, your health, your peace, your goals. Live fully again, not because you want her back, but because you finally realized the man you're becoming was never meant to stay stuck in the past. Tip number 2. Show, don't chase. Let her see you moving without her. There's a quiet kind of power in simply living your life without trying to prove anything, not disappearing, not broadcasting, just moving forward, with calm certainty that you don't need to be seen to matter. That's the kind of presence that speaks louder than any words you could ever say. You don't need to post a dramatic quote or some vague caption aimed at getting her attention. You don't even need to mention her at all. Instead, let the moments speak for themselves. A snapshot from the end of your 10K run, a picture from a weekend cabin deep in the mountains, a photo of you at a fundraiser contributing without making noise. These are the quiet signals that you're grounded, focused, and building something she's no longer part of. And whether she likes it or not, that stirs something in her. Not because you're trying to manipulate her, but because you've shifted the energy. You're no longer chasing, you're leading. And in doing so, you stop being the man who waits and become the man she's no longer sure she can reach. That uncertainty, it creates gravity. Because people don't chase what chases them. They chase what they feel is slipping away. And when she sees you giving something else 100% of your attention, your health, your mission, your passion, she'll start wanting to get that 1% in. Not out of vanity, but out of instinct. It's human nature. Let her see you moving, not recklessly, not out of spite, but with intention, with grace. Let your life become a mirror that reflects exactly what she walked away from, not in a bitter way, but in a way that makes her stop and think, maybe I underestimated what he was capable of without me. Because the goal isn't to make her jealous. It's to remind her gently but clearly that you were never meant to stand still for someone who chose to walk away. Tip number 3, stay mysterious when she reaches out. The moment she reaches out, after days, weeks, or even months of silence, is where most men fail. They see that one message, that one "hey" as a lifeline, and in a flood of relief, they pour everything out. What they've been doing, how they've been feeling, hopes, regrets, intentions, and just like that, the mystery is gone. She no longer wonders, because you've handed her all the answers. But you're not here to confirm what she already suspects. You're here to shift the energy completely. So when she finally breaks the silence, don't unravel. Don't rush to fill the space. Instead, respond with calm, closed-ended clarity. Something like, just got back from the mountains. It's been good to disconnect. Or, been deep in a few projects lately. Feels good to be productive. No over-explaining, no playful bait, no nervous emojis or extra punctuation. Just enough to show you're still you, but different now. Because if you go silent, but nothing within you has changed, you're not mysterious. You're just gone. And not in a way that moves her emotionally, but in a way that confirms her original decision. He's still the same man, just quieter. You don't want to disappear. You want to evolve. Real mystery doesn't come from withholding, it comes from becoming. When she feels that the man you were is no longer entirely available, not out of spite but out of inner growth, that's when curiosity returns. That's when the questions begin to form in her mind. What changed? Who's he becoming? Why does this feel different now? And if your heart races the moment her name lights up your phone, if you feel the urge to immediately dive back in, breathe. Don't panic. You're not pushing her away by holding back. You're reclaiming gravity. You're allowing your silence to carry weight. Let her feel it. Let her lean into the tension of not knowing. Because she won't miss the man who was always a text away. She'll miss the man who grew quiet, not to punish her, but to protect the version of himself that no longer needs to be chosen to have value. Tip number 4, limit access. Protect your energy. When a woman pulls away or goes cold, most men instinctively lean in harder. They think that more effort, more reassurance, more emotional availability will somehow tip the scale back in their favor. But what often happens is the opposite. The more you try to compensate for her distance, the more that distance grows. Because love doesn't bloom from imbalance. It withers under it. That's why the strength isn't in matching her feelings, it's in mirroring her effort. If she's showing up inconsistently, you don't respond by becoming even more available. If she gives you 30%, don't give 80%. Mirror, not out of ego, not out of bitterness, but out of respect. Respect for yourself and for the energy between you that deserves to be mutual, not one-sided. This doesn't mean being cold. It doesn't mean playing games. It means staying emotionally grounded. If she texts once a day, you don't need to respond within minutes. If she's vague, don't overcompensate by pouring your heart out. Keep the balance honest. Let the dynamic reflect what's real, not what you're hoping it might become. Because when you overextend, you don't pull her closer. You drain yourself. You become a man working too hard to prove his worth to someone who's still deciding whether you're worth choosing. And that's not a position of strength, that's slow erosion. Mirror what she's giving you. Sometimes it's just 20 to 30%. That's not rejection, it's information, it's clarity. And if you can hold your ground there, if you can stay steady without pushing, you give her space to rise to meet you. Or not. Either way, you protect your peace. The goal here isn't to convince her to come back. The goal is to become a man who doesn't need to be chosen to know his value. A man who can look at inconsistent energy and say, calmly and without resentment, "This isn't enough for me," and mean it. That's the shift she doesn't expect. That's the reflection she might not be ready to face. And that's exactly when the power dynamic changes. Not because you took it from her, but because you finally stopped giving yours away. Summary: you can't fake growth. Not convincingly, not sustainably, and certainly not in a way that moves her heart. Because this isn't about tactics. It's not about calculated silence, clever replies, or strategic detachment. All of that falls apart the moment your mask slips and your true emotional state leaks through. This is about transformation, and transformation only happens when you stop asking, "How do I get her back?" and start asking, "What kind of man am I becoming without her?" The truth is, if she walked away, there's a version of you she no longer believed in, and maybe for a while you doubted that version too. But real power comes when you stop trying to prove her wrong and instead commit to becoming so much more than she ever expected. Not louder, not flashier, just deeper, clearer, stronger. The kind of man who doesn't chase closure because he's learned how to carry silence without breaking, who doesn't rush to be chosen because he's learned how to choose himself first. You have to actually become different. Not because you're trying to earn her attention, but because you've realized your peace is too valuable to keep trading for temporary reassurance. And once that shift happens, once the performance ends and the real internal change begins, something unexpected follows. She starts to notice. Not immediately, not always outwardly, but silently, in the space you no longer fill, she begins to feel the weight of what's no longer available. Let her miss the man she thought she outgrew, only to realize too late that he outgrew needing her validation. Because that's when the story flips, that's when the power shifts, and that's when she realizes the man you are now is no longer waiting to be remembered. He's already moved on to becoming unforgettable. If something in this message spoke to your soul, let me know in the comments. I read every single word. Like this video, subscribe to Stoic Station, and most importantly, remember this: your worth is not up for debate. Never has been, never will be. Walk forward with clarity, with strength, and with peace. I'll see you in the next one.